Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fisher Fitness Coaching Podcast. It's episode 36 or 37. I'm not too sure, but I'll put it in the description if you care. This episode will be on tracking food or counting calories. Basically the same thing. So there's a lot of information out there currently being told by quote unquote fitness professionals. I don't know what this saying is. Is that unquote, quote unquote? I'm not sure. Anyway, fitness professionals saying that counting calories, tracking your food is not needed. It's bad for you. You don't need to do it. Calories doesn't matter. And it's all about the types of food you eat if we're talking about fat loss. And fat gain, and muscle gain, but I'll go into that another time. This one's going to be specifically on fat loss. So, yeah, there are people out there, there are coaches out there who suggest that it's not about the calories, it's about the types of food you eat, and the fact you need to control your insulin in order to lose body fat. I'm not going to mention any names, but if you saw my most recent Instagram video, then that's one example. So I want to go into a bit more detail on that because, this sort of information, it does confuse the hell out of people. And again, it's no wonder why people are so confused when it comes to fat loss, nutrition, knowing what to eat, how much to eat, how fat loss occurs, that sort of thing. So essentially this episode will be on, do you need to track your food in order to lose fat? I'll title it something along those lines. The short answer is no, you don't. You don't have to track your food. You don't have to count your calories. That's not to say that calories don't matter when it comes to fat loss. It absolutely does, because that's just the laws of thermodynamics, and you can't change that. So fat loss comes down to energy in versus energy out. That's all it is. So I like to give this as an example, just to give you an idea of how it works or why it works. So if your body burnt, let's say 2,000 calories throughout the day, and you consumed 1,800 calories of pure sugar, processed sugar, table sugar, the unhealthy bad stuff, you would still lose body fat, because that's just how it works. Calories in versus calories out. There's no denying that. It's been studied multiple times. It's been proven time and time again. That is how fat loss happens. It's if you burn more calories than you consume, then you will lose body fat. It's not about the insulin control. It's not about controlling your insulin or not spiking your insulin. It's about the amount of calories you are consuming relating to the amount of calories you are burning. So yes, calories do matter when it comes to fat loss, but also so does food quality, because so let's take the sugar example. If you were to consume nothing but sugar, you would feel like absolute shit. You wouldn't work properly. Like, there's no nutrition in processed sugar. So obviously I'm not saying you should be consuming nothing but processed sugar. I'm simply saying that if you did consume nothing but processed sugar, but you burnt more calories throughout the day than you did the amount you consumed, you would lose body fat. But anyway, if you consume nothing but processed sugar or chocolate, sweets, cakes, whatever, you would feel like shit. You would end up being ill. It would you would get no nutrition from it. So things like your skin, your hair, nails, your overall health would take a huge hit. You would end up losing muscle tissue, so your body composition wouldn't be great, but you would still lose weight. But you'd be losing weight from not only fat but muscle tissue as well. So this is why you shouldn't be consuming lots of ultra processed food because of your overall health and well-being. Okay, there's no nutrition in these foods. It's just energy. It's just calories. It's carbohydrates. It's fats. Whatever. There's no micronutrients, no vitamins, no minerals. So this is why you should be focusing on getting most of your food from whole, natural, single ingredient foods like fruit, vegetables, lean meats, fish, nuts, pulses, that kind of thing. Foods which contain nutrients, foods which will help fill you up, foods which will foods which will satiate you, and it will keep you going. It will fuel you for your day, for your training, for whatever activity you're doing. Also, when you're consuming these single ingredient foods, these whole foods, your body uses more calories to actually digest these foods. Especially protein has a higher thermic effect, so your body will actually use more calories to actually digest, which is why, again, these types of foods are good when it comes to fat loss, because your body uses more calories digesting them, and these foods will fill you up for longer. It'll fuel you. It'll provide with important nutrients and vitamins to help you feel better, help you repair, recover, sleep, all that kind of, all the good stuff. It'll stop you from being ill. It'll help with your immune system. So this is why 80% of your food should come from whole, natural, single ingredient foods, and then 20% can come from the other stuff, like the junk foods, the fun foods, we like to call them, like sweets, chocolate, crisps, the shit, the junk that other people say that's going to kill you, which it won't, by the way. So stick to the 80-20 guideline. It's very, very simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Fat loss simply comes down to energy in versus energy out. But the types of foods we eat can affect energy in versus energy out. Okay, so like I mentioned, the thermic effect. And also, if you were to eat nothing but ultra processed foods, you would feel like shit, so you would end up moving less because you'd feel ill. You wouldn't want to do anything, so you would end up burning less calories. You wouldn't be able to lift weights because there's just no nutrition. You'd be in a very, very bad way. So, and you could end up getting type 2 diabetes, all that kind of stuff. And that, I'm not going to go into the details of all that, the insulin and stuff, because it is a confusing subject. But this is why I'm trying to keep it simple for you. So, going back to the main subject, do we need to track our food? No, we don't have to. You can still lose body fat without tracking your food or counting your calories. However, those of you who haven't tracked before will have no idea how much energy is in certain foods. So a big reason as to why there's so many overweight people out there right now is because they don't have any idea the energy in certain foods. So they just eat these foods, mainly the ultra processed foods, which contain lots of calories and don't satiate you, and they taste amazing, so you want to keep eating them. Right? So you eat lots of these foods, not knowing how much energy is in these foods. So before you know it, you're consuming more than you are burning, which means you're going to gain body fat. Now, if this person spent 2 weeks tracking their food, but ate the same things, didn't change anything, just spent 2 weeks tracking, then they would get a much clearer idea of how much energy they are consuming. So I just turned off the WhatsApp beep. Which would then mean they would start thinking, oh, okay, I better start decreasing the amount of food I'm consuming because I'm obviously eating a lot more than I thought. Okay, So that it increases food awareness. It means that you will have more awareness, or you become more aware of the energy or calories in certain foods. So your food, your knowledge of energy in foods increases. So you start almost you can get to the stage where you can start all eyeballing foods and start thinking, right, that's probably about 300 calories. That's probably around 500, 600. It's all estimates, by the way. Remember, it's all estimates. So take whatever you see on tracking apps or the food labels, take it all with a pinch of salt. It's just estimates. It could be up to like 50 to 100 calories out. So whatever you see, it's not 100% accurate. So just bear that in mind. So tracking your food, yeah, it can increase food awareness, and it can also help with accountability. So if you start tracking your food on a tracking app, I'll put the tracking apps I recommend in the description, so you can click on the link and have a look for yourself. But it starts providing accountability. So if you start tracking your food, I guarantee you'll end up consuming less because of the amount of calories you begin to realize you are consuming over the course of the day. So it's a very, very useful tool to increase food awareness and to give yourself some accountability of what types of foods and how much food you are consuming. Because like I said, without this knowledge, you have no idea how many calories you are consuming. So that's the main thing. So yes, you don't have to track your food if you want to lose body fat. However, it's a very, very useful tool, and I would recommend it. If you haven't before, I'd recommend doing it for at least 2-3 weeks, just to get an idea of how much you are consuming, because I guarantee it's a lot more than you think. And it helps you also reach your daily protein target as well. It's not only about calories, it's about how much protein you consume as well, because that's very important when it comes to body composition, overall health, that sort of thing. So if you don't want to track, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to, like I said. However, if you don't want to track, if you're not going to track, then you have to put a lot more focus on the types of food you are consuming. You'll have to consume a lot less ultra-processed foods, and you would have to have most of your food come from vegetables, fruit, lean meats, fish, that sort of thing. Foods which fill you up: potatoes, oats, pasta. The foods which fill you up and which offer a lot less calories. However, and if you did that and you focused on just having 3 well-balanced meals per day with a fist size of protein or meat, a handful of carbs, pasta, potatoes, oats, rice, whatever, and as much vegetables as you can fit on the plate. Okay, that's a decent way of knowing what a well-balanced meal is without tracking. If you did that 3 times a day for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and you kept active, right? You hit your 8 to 10,000 steps per day and you lifted weights 3-4 times a week, I guarantee you would be in a deficit and you would lose body fat. There's a high chance of that happening anyway. However, you could be way below your maintenance calories. And this is one of the issues with not tracking. You could be up to 800,000 calories below maintenance, which is a big deficit, which means yes, you will lose body fat quickly, but it's not sustainable. You won't have the energy needed for you to train effectively in the gym. You'll start to feel like, very, very tired. You'll have no energy. You'll start to be grumpy and, we call it hangry. Do you know what I mean? So there's a fine line. Without tracking, yes, you can quite easily create a deficit, but that deficit may be huge, which will affect your overall performance in the gym. It will affect your mood. It could affect loads of different things. So, benefit of tracking is you can have more of these fun foods in your diet. You can basically just plan them into your week. And also, it means you can create a smaller deficit, which means you're still losing body fat, but you have way more energy, so you feel better. You train harder, which means your strength will increase. You'll increase more muscle. You'll build more muscle tissue, which means your body composition will improve and will be better. You'll just feel generally better. So that's one of the downsides of not tracking. Okay, so yeah, you don't have to track, but it's very, very useful. So I get most of my clients to track because, again, it increases that food awareness. I get my clients to do what's called a week's assessment week, where they don't change anything in their diet. They just track their food normally and they write it all down. And because of that, 9 times out of 10, they actually start losing weight because they begin to realize how much they're consuming. So as they're tracking, they think, oh my God, that's a lot more than I thought. I'm not going to have this today. I'm not going to have that tomorrow. So without even realizing it, they create a deficit and they start to lose body fat. That's just in the first week. Okay, so it just creates that. It just increases the food awareness. It helps them improve their knowledge on nutrition and the calorie or the caloric intake. The caloric content for certain foods. You don't have to track all the time or forever. Tracking for 4 to 6 weeks and then maybe having a week off tracking is a good idea. 1-2 weeks off tracking. Or you can track, 3 times in the week. Don't track at the weekend, because once you start to get used to tracking, again, like I said, you can start to look at food and start understanding how much how much calories is in certain foods. So you could track Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for example, just to keep you on the right track, excuse the pun. It means you can have that the respite from tracking on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the weekends. You can track 1 week on, 1 week off. You can track 1 month on, 1 month off. It's just a very good way to keep you on the right path without going way off track, which means putting back on unwanted body fat. It's obviously not for everyone. Some people will find it very stressful, and that's absolutely fine. There are ways around that. But for most people, it can be very useful, and it's very, very beneficial towards them losing body fat and improving their body composition. What do I do? I mean, sometimes I track for a week and then I don't track for a month. It's just a good way for me to, just to know roughly how much I'm consuming, especially with protein. I do it mostly for protein, really, because I've tracked a lot in the past. You sort of know, you get an idea of what your maintenance calories is, and because I weigh myself every morning, like with a smart scale, it goes straight to my phone. It picks up this data so I can see what my body weight is doing over time. If I start to increase, then I know that I'm in a calorie surplus, and I just, rein it in with the food content and the meal sizes and the meal frequencies, whatever. If my weight is going down, on average, then I know that I'm losing body fat, and I can either keep it there or I can increase my food depending on what my goal is. Right now, it's just to lose a bit of body fat before I go on holiday in June. So I'm not tracking. I'm just weighing myself every day, and I'm just making small adjustments with my diet. If nothing happens, then I will start tracking. It doesn't bother me, and I'll track up to 8 weeks if I need to. If it means that I'll, get the fat loss results I want, then I'll track. It doesn't bother me. My foods are my meals, very, very simple, and they're very plain, and they're very repetitive. So it just makes it easy for myself. So I can just keep adding the same meals, the same foods. It doesn't bother me at all. Anyway, I think that's everything I need to say. I don't think I've missed anything out. But I hope that helps. In summary, no, you don't have to track your food to lose body fat, but it is a very, very useful tool, and it can help you achieve the fat loss results you want to achieve. Any more questions on this, or if you have any questions on this at all, just let me know. like I said, I'll put in the links to the tracking apps I'd recommend. I currently use MacroFactor. It's by far the best one. It does cost you, but it's amazing. It adjusts your calories for you depending on what your body weight is doing and what you're doing in terms of caloric intake. So it literally takes into account metabolic adaptation, which is another way of saying what happens when you lose weight. Your metabolism starts to slow down, and MacroFactor takes that into account and it adjusts your calories for you, so you don't have to start guessing, which is the most frustrating part of fat loss. Anyway, MacroFactor is the best one. There's other ones like Chronometer. There's My Macros. There's NutriCheck. There's all sorts. I wouldn't. MyFitnessPal's okay. It's just that it relies on users' data input, and a lot of the time it's incorrect. So the data is often wrong. So if you think that you're in a deficit because MyFitnessPal says so, you may not be. So it can be a bit hit and miss. So yeah, you can use it if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Any questions on anything, let me know. If you're interested in coaching, then yeah, just get in touch and I will get a call set up and we'll go through your goals and how I can help, what you're struggling with, and how we can help you achieve your dream physique, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. All the best, and I will speak to you all very soon.